Have you ever felt the weight of failure pressing down on your chest so heavily that you could barely breathe? That crushing sensation when everything you've worked for seems to crumble between your fingers, leaving nothing but dust and disappointment. I see those nods. I feel that tension. We've all been there, standing in the shadow of our broken dreams, wondering if we have what it takes to step back into the light. Today, I'm not here to tell you that your pain isn't real. I'm not here to dismiss your struggles with empty platitudes, or suggest that a simple change in attitude will magically transform your life overnight. The truth is rawer than that, more authentic, more powerful. I'm here to tell you that champions aren't born in victory parades. They're forged in the furnace of defeat. They're sculpted by the chisel of disappointment. They emerge not despite their failures, but because of how they choose to respond to them. The most profound secret of success isn't about never feeling like a loser. It's about what you choose to do when those feelings threaten to define you. It's about the courage to act like a winner precisely when you feel most defeated. This isn't just about putting on a brave face. This is about understanding that success isn't a feeling, it's a practice. It's a discipline. It's a choice you make minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, especially when everything within you screams that you're not enough. Today we're going to explore what it truly means to adopt the mindset, behaviors, and actions of winners. Not as a mask to hide behind, but as a bridge that carries you from where you are to where you're determined to go. Embrace your struggles. The most dangerous myth in our culture is that winners don't struggle, that success is a straight line, that champions somehow skip the chapters of doubt, fear, and failure. Nothing could be further from the truth. Your struggles aren't detours from your path to greatness. They are the path. They're not obstacles to success, they're the very foundation upon which success is built. When you feel like a loser, what you're really feeling is the necessary friction of growth. Think about the butterfly emerging from its chrysalis. Scientists have discovered something remarkable. If you help a butterfly escape by cutting open its cocoon, it will never fly. The very struggle of pushing against resistance is what forces fluid into its wings, giving them the strength to soar. Without that struggle, the butterfly is grounded forever. Your struggles serve the same purpose. They're not punishment, they're preparation. Take a moment to consider the struggles you're facing right now. The project that failed, the relationship that ended, the promotion you were passed over for, the financial setback that keeps you awake at night. What if, just what if, these aren't signs that you're losing, but essential experiences that are strengthening you for flight? Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx and self-made billionaire, grew up with a father who would ask her and her brother the same question at dinner each night. What did you fail at today? If they couldn't answer, he would be disappointed. Not because he wanted them to fail, but because he wanted them to try things where failure was possible. Today, she credits that mindset for giving her the courage to persist through countless rejections before revolutionizing an industry. Your struggle isn't your enemy. It's your ally. It's not about avoiding the feeling of loss, it's about embracing it as the price of admission to a life of significance. When you feel a loser, don't run from that feeling. Examine it. Thank it even. Say, I see you. I feel you. But you don't decide what happens next. Every champion has stood exactly where you stand now. Every single one. The difference isn't that they never felt defeated, it's that they refused to let that feeling have the final word. The power of mindset. Your mind is the battlefield where victories are won or lost long before they materialize in the physical world. The thoughts you entertain today shape the reality you'll experience tomorrow. When Carol Dweck, a Stanford psychologist, began researching why some students rebounded from failures while others were devastated by them, she discovered something profound. The difference wasn't ability but mindset. Those with a fixed mindset believed their qualities were carved in stone, either they had what it took or they didn't. But those with a growth mindset believed their qualities could be cultivated through effort. They saw failure not as evidence of unintelligence but as a springboard for growth. This isn't positive thinking, this is strategic thinking. This is revolutionary thinking. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Rather than accepting this verdict on his abilities, he used it as fuel. He practiced earlier than everyone else, he stayed later. He turned his perceived inadequacy into his greatest motivation. I have failed over and over and over again in my life, he later said. And that is why I succeed. Jordan didn't deny feeling like a failure, he transformed that feeling into action. Thomas Edison made over 1,000 unsuccessful attempts at inventing the light bulb. When a reporter asked him how it felt to fail 1,000 times, Edison replied, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. That's not wordplay, that's a fundamental reframing that allowed him to persist when others would have quit. The winner's mindset isn't about ignoring reality, it's about interpreting reality in a way that empowers rather than paralyzes. When you feel like a loser, your brain will offer evidence to support that feeling. It will curate memories of past failures, highlight present struggles, and project future disasters. That's what brains do, they build cases for whatever belief system you feed them. But you can interrupt this process. You can challenge these thoughts. You can ask yourself, is this the only way to interpret what's happening? What would a winner see in this situation? What opportunity is disguised in this setback? This isn't self-deception, it's self-direction. It's taking control of the narrative rather than letting circumstances write your story. The mindset of a winner isn't about feeling invincible, it's about feeling vulnerable and moving forward anyway. It's about converting "I'm a failure" to "I failed this time." It's transforming "I can't do this" into "I can't do this yet." That one word "yet" contains within it all the power of the growth mindset. It acknowledges present limitation while affirming future possibility. It honors struggle while refusing to be defined by it. Your mindset isn't just how you think, it's the lens through which you see everything. Clean that lens and the whole world transforms. Take with confidence even in doubt. Here's a secret that every accomplished performer, leader, and innovator knows intimately. Confidence isn't a prerequisite for action. It's a result of it. We've been taught backwards. We think we need to feel confident before we can act confident. But the psychological research is clear. Behavior drives emotion more powerfully than emotion drives behavior. Harvard psychologist William James recognized this over a century ago when he wrote, "Action seems to follow feeling, but really action and feeling go together. And by regulating the action, which is under the more direct control of the will, we can indirectly regulate the feeling." In simpler terms, act brave, and you'll become brave. Act confident and confidence will follow. This isn't fake it till you make it. That phrase suggests deception. This is act as if until it becomes who you are. There's a profound difference. One is pretense, the other is practice. When Mahatma Gandhi began his work as a young lawyer, he was so terrified of public speaking that in his first case he froze before the judge and had to return the fee to his client. Rather than deciding he wasn't meant to be an advocate, he continued putting himself in situations that required him to speak. He acted as if he were confident long before he felt it. The man whose words would eventually inspire millions began as someone who could barely speak in court. This principle applies beyond confidence. It encompasses every quality of a winner. Act as if you're resilient and resilience grows. Act as if you're creative and creativity flows. Act as if you're determined and determination strengthens. When doubt clouds your mind, and it will, remember that action disperses doubt like wind disperses fog. You don't need perfect clarity to take the next step. You just need enough courage to move despite the murkiness. What does this look like in practice? It means submitting that application even when imposter syndrome tells you you're not qualified. It means raising your hand in the meeting even when your heart pounds at the thought of speaking up. It means sending that proposal even when you fear rejection. Each time you act despite doubt, you're rewiring your neural pathways. You're creating evidence that contradicts your feeling of being a loser. You're building a case for your capability that grows stronger with each action. There's profound power in the gap between how you feel and how you act. When you feel defeated but act determined, you're exercising the muscle of self-mastery. That's not weakness, that's extraordinary strength. The people we admire most aren't those who never doubted. They're those who acted despite their doubt. They're not superhuman, they're just humans who understood that waiting to feel ready often means waiting forever. So when you feel like a loser, acknowledge that feeling, then act as if you believe in yourself anyway. Your actions will eventually convince your feelings to follow suit. The decision to keep going. At the heart of every success story lies a simple, unglamorous truth. Someone decided to keep going when stopping would have been easier, more reasonable, more justified. Winners aren't born with some special gene for persistence. They've simply mastered the art of making the decision to continue over and over again, especially when every fiber of their being screams to stop. In 1954, a young boxer named Cassius Clay, later known as Muhammad Ali, had his bicycle stolen. Devastated and angry, he told a police officer he wanted to beat up whoever took it. The officer, Joe Martin, who also happened to be a boxing trainer, told him he better learn to fight first. That chance encounter, that single decision to channel his frustration into training rather than giving up, set in motion a chain of events that would lead to Ali becoming one of the greatest athletes of all time. Life rarely changes in one dramatic moment. More often it changes in the accumulation of thousands of small decisions to persist. J.K. Rowling was a divorced single mother on welfare when she began writing Harry Potter. She described herself at that time as the biggest failure I knew. The manuscript was rejected by 12 publishers before finally being accepted. Today, the Harry Potter series has sold over 500 million copies worldwide. The difference between Rowling remaining the biggest failure she knew and becoming one of the most successful authors in history wasn't talent alone. It was her decision to keep submitting that manuscript despite rejection after rejection. When you feel like a loser, the most powerful choice you can make isn't some grand gesture. It's simply deciding that today is not the day you quit. Tomorrow isn't either. Nor is the day after that. This decision to continue isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's as quiet as opening your laptop again after a project fails. Sometimes it's as simple as getting out of bed when depression tells you to stay under the covers. Sometimes it's as basic as trying one more time when logic says the odds are against you. The dignity of persistence is that it doesn't require permission, validation, or even immediate results. It just requires decision. And here's what's remarkable about this decision. The more you make it, the easier it becomes. Persistence isn't just an action, it's a muscle that strengthens with use. In the moments when you feel most like a loser, remember that you're just one decision away from being back on the path of a winner. Not because that single decision will solve everything, but because it puts you back in the position of someone who hasn't given up. And as long as you haven't given up, you haven't truly lost. Handling criticism and doubt. Perhaps nothing makes us feel more like losers than facing criticism, rejection, and the doubt they inevitably seed in our minds. These experiences strike at the core of our identity and threaten our sense of belonging. One of our deepest human needs. But here's what champions understand. Criticism is not a verdict on your value, it's information that can be evaluated, filtered, and sometimes even leveraged. When Elon Musk announced his plans to build reusable rockets with SpaceX, he was ridiculed by the aerospace establishment. His early rockets failed spectacularly, exploding on launch pads and disintegrating mid-flight. Critics were quick to dismiss him as a wealthy dilettante playing with rockets. Today, SpaceX has revolutionized space travel and drastically reduced its cost. Musk's response to criticism wasn't to ignore it completely. That would be foolish. Instead, he distinguished between criticism of his methods, which he considered valuable, and criticism of his vision, which he largely disregarded. He acted like a winner by using criticism as a tool rather than treating it as a tombstone. Lady Gaga, before becoming a global superstar, faced brutal rejection. There was even a Facebook group called Stefani Germanata. You will never be famous. Stefani being her birth. Rather than internalizing this rejection as evidence of inadequacy, she used it as motivation to refine her art and amplify her unique voice. She acted like a winner by refusing to let others' opinions override her own belief in her potential. When handling criticism, winners ask different questions than losers do. Instead of "why does this always happen to me?" they ask, "what can I learn from this?" Instead of "who's to blame?" they ask, "what's next?" Instead of "how can I prove them wrong?" they ask, "how can I improve regardless of what they think?" Self-doubt is even more insidious than external criticism, because it speaks with your own voice. It knows your insecurities, weaknesses, and past failures. It whispers with authority because it comes from within. Winners experience self-doubt just as intensely as anyone else. The difference is that they've learned to act despite it rather than because of it. When self-doubt says you're not ready, winners respond, "I'll learn as I go." When self-doubt says you've failed before, winners respond, "and I survived to try again." When self-doubt says others are better than you, winners respond, "then I learned from them." These responses don't eliminate doubt, they simply prevent doubt from eliminating opportunity. Remember, feeling doubtful doesn't make you a loser any more than feeling confident makes you a winner. What matters is whether doubt becomes a wall that stops you or a hurdle you find a way over, under, around, or through. The next time criticism or doubt makes you feel like a loser, remind yourself that these feelings aren't facts. They're normal human responses that everyone experiences. What makes champions different isn't the absence of these feelings. It's their refusal to let these feelings dictate their actions. Visualizing success. Winners understand something profound about the human mind. It cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and an actual one. Both create similar neural patterns. Both influence biochemistry. Both shape future behavior. This isn't mystical thinking. It's supported by decades of research in sports psychology, neuroscience, and behavioral science. When Olympic athletes prepare for competition, they don't just train their bodies, they systematically train their minds through visualization. They mentally rehearse every movement, every challenge, every triumph in vivid detail. They feel the weight of the equipment, hear the crowd, experience the pressure, and visualize themselves executing perfectly despite it all. By the time they actually compete, they've already won countless times in their minds. Their bodies simply follow a path already carved by their imagination. This same technique has been used by surgeons before complex operations, by musicians before important performances, by business leaders before crucial negotiations. It works because the brain forms neural pathways whether you're actually doing something or vividly imagining it. When you feel like a loser, your natural tendency is to visualize further failure. Your mind projects past disappointments onto future possibilities. This isn't your fault, it's your brain's default setting for self-protection. But this automatic visualization works against you, creating anxiety that impairs performance and often leads to the very failure you fear. Winners interrupt this cycle by deliberately visualizing success. Instead, this doesn't mean ignoring potential obstacles, quite the opposite. Effective visualization includes anticipating challenges and mentally rehearsing how you'll overcome them. Research shows that implementation intention, specifically visualizing if X happens, then I'll do Y, dramatically increases follow-through and resilience when obstacles arise. Here's how to practice this. Set aside 10 minutes daily. Find a quiet space. Close your eyes. Then mentally rehearse yourself moving through your current challenge with confidence, skill, and determination. See yourself responding effectively to setbacks. Feel the satisfaction of breakthrough. Experience the pride of persistence. Be specific. If you're preparing for a presentation, don't just visualize generic success. See yourself walking into the room. Feel your feet on the floor. Hear your strong, clear voice. Notice the engaged expressions on your audience's faces. Experience answering difficult questions with poise. Jim Carrey, before becoming famous, wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, dated it 10 years in the future, and carried it in his wallet. He visualized cashing that check countless times. Less than 10 years later, he received $10 million for his role in Dumb and Dumber. Carrey's experience illustrates an important aspect of visualization. It's not just about creating mental imagery. It's about creating such a compelling internal experience of success that your actions naturally align to create it externally. When you feel like a loser, visualization gives you access to a different emotional state, one that generates different actions which produce different results. It's not magic, it's methodology. Winners don't just hope for better outcomes. They mentally rehearse them until success feels familiar, expected, almost inevitable. They act like winners in their minds before they ever become winners in reality. We stand now at the intersection of truth and transformation. We've explored the anatomy of winning, not as some innate quality possessed by a lucky few, but as a series of deliberate choices available to anyone with the courage to make them. The gap between feeling like a loser and acting like a winner. That space may seem vast, but it can be crossed in a single moment of decision. That decision isn't made once, but repeatedly, sometimes hourly or even minute by minute. I won't pretend this path is easy. There will be days when doubt feels like your shadow, when criticism cuts deep, when failure seems to confirm your worst fears about yourself. On those days, remember, winners aren't people who never struggle. They're people who struggle productively. Your feelings will fluctuate. Your circumstances will change. Your critics will speak. But in the space between stimulus and response lies your greatest power. The power to choose your actions regardless of your emotion. This is the secret hiding in plain sight. Acting like a winner isn't about denying your struggles. It's about refusing to let your struggles define your identity or determine your future. Michael Jordan missed 9,000 shots. Thomas Edison's light bulb took 1,000. Abraham Lincoln lost 8 elections. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Oprah Winfrey was told she was unfit for television. They all felt the sting of failure. They all had moments of doubt. They all faced legitimate reasons to quit, but they acted like winners before the world ever recognized them as such. You stand in their company every time you choose courage over comfort, growth over safety, Persistence over surrender. So what's your next move? Will you wait until you feel like a winner to act like one? Or will you act like a winner until you become one? The mountain before you may seem insurmountable. The distance to your dream may seem vast. The gap between where you are and where you want to be may seem unbridgeable. But remember, mountains are climbed one step at a time. Marathons are completed one stride after another. Masterpieces are created one brushstroke at a time. Your journey begins with a single action taken in the direction of your highest aspiration. Especially when you don't feel ready. Start now. Start where you are. Start with what you have. Act like the winner you are destined to become. And watch as your actions gradually transform not just your circumstances, but your very identity. The victory isn't someday, somewhere, somehow in the future. The victory is here, now, in your decision to rise. And again, until acting like a winner isn't something you do. It's who you are.